Gavin, I don't know if you, I wouldn't be able to identify it myself, but if this idea of layering compositionally came to play, but certainly the music on a layer with the visual or on a similar plane with the visual, either way, to take that idea of, from an oral standpoint, into this creation.
Yeah, there was, I would say, very little friction with our team because both Nina McNeely and Jasmine Albuquerque, they have a project together which is called Wife, which is a dance visual performative ensemble, and their working relationship created kind of a seamlessness in the same way that Michaela Tobin and Sharon Shoku Kim, the brilliant vocalists who we also relied on their own creativity for many of the improvisatory sequences of singing. They also are close collaborators and do phenomenal work together. So everyone had this enmeshed single hindbrain in a way. And what I was, giving to that as an editor and kind of compiling things was trying to find interesting primordial imagery, and it's kind of challenging. It's not something you can just go to a stock website to locate. And one of my favorite stories in this regard was cold emailing Heather Barnett, the Scottish slime mold researcher who produces lots of Creative Commons available slime mold growth videos on YouTube. And I said, hey, would you be interested in this wild idea, romantic comedy? Would you take a look at the film and tell me what you think? And are you okay giving us permission for this work? And I think she immediately, she wrote me back very optimistically, positively, saying that she understood the flow of the imagery in a way through her own work, and that the slime mold shots would be a great addition. And we also had some adventures tracking down reclusive volcano photographers, because that's another part of what you saw tonight that's not very easily obtained or licensable. But we went on a wild goose chase of sorts, getting these things to lend to the primordial ancient nature of the piece. And yeah, I just wanted to emphasize the kind of frictionless moving of how that all came to be.
Layers make me also think of, from an etymological perspective, opera is, one definition of opera is a plural of opus, so it means works. It's not a single work, it's a kind of exceeding of categories and exceeding of singularity, which I think is an interesting concept to explore with this film. And I'm curious, Elias, if you have any thoughts about this idea of, kind of maybe tie it back, because I know we don't have that much more time, tie it back to the original question about what makes an opera film, and this notion maybe of needing, not necessarily what makes it an opera film, but that the opera film generates out of an impulse for a kind of too muchness is something I've been thinking about, of pushing aside categories, pushing aside boundaries, whether it's visual, music, film itself, and really upholding that idea of works, or labor actually is also another aspect of the etymology of opera. If you have thoughts about that small topic.
It's a beautiful question. I love that idea of too muchness, because too muchness is very much deeply part of my nature, as an artist. And it's that feeling like you yourself are cracking open with an idea that you are reaching for. And that is something I want to emphasize, that the three of us, and my wife who's in the audience, Nadja, who's the executive producer on this film, we spent 7 years, chasing a specific vision, and I think part of that obsession comes out of the too muchness that the three of us share. and have in common. Gavin is a magnificent world-class composer. David Wexler as a magnificent visionary and world-class, artist. I mean, he creates images on the world stage that millions of people have experienced. From Pink Floyd's concert at the Hollywood Bowl, where he created a 360-degree, magnificent images to David Gilmour, and so we have the chops to, take over an opera house and create something, quite astonishing that nobody's ever seen before, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. It's almost like, as beautiful as Polia Blastema is, it became, for me, a confidence builder and a proof of concept of where I want to take this, in terms of, staging it in a very ambitious way.
And I think just to end, something we talked about the other day was is a beautiful aspect of your work, which I think it's important to mention that Elias's first film, Begotten, is a very important film, which is difficult to see, unfortunately, but that began originally with the impulse of it being a theater work.
I originally thought it out and mapped it out as an operatic staging where the stage would be basically a circle around the audience. So the audience would be surrounded by the singers, by the actors, and by the orchestra. So the music and everything, the whole experience would be coming in. And I had this idea for this dome, which didn't even exist back then, and which exists today. So today we're at a place where we have technology and the tools to really take us into the metasphere of where opera. The beautiful thing about this festival is that Frank and his team really curated a great group of visionary artists that are pushing the envelope in the opera field. Opera, we need to push it into the 21st century. It is one of the most ancient and yet one of the most powerful art forms, but yet it needs the dust that's been laying on it for too long to be dusted off and to be taken to its next level. I mean, I love the Magic Flute, and I would love to stage the Magic Flute, but I would never stage it the way it's been done, the way I've seen it again and again in the last 20 years. I would take it completely to a different place. And that's where it deserves to be, because that would attract, a phenomenal, a renaissance of interest in opera. And as if I'm going to get kicked out, I want to say that I definitely could not have made this film or gone on this journey without these two extraordinary visionaries. And they could have finished the film towards the end without me, but there's no way that I could have ever gotten as far or even as close as the beautiful film that I saw tonight without David Wexler and Gavin's magnificent score.
Well, I hope that we can continue the journey from cinema to live performance in some way, but I hope that you can join me in applauding these three gentlemen again.